in order to become the person you want, you have to sacrifice the person you are. A couple days ago, I was actually going on a run like I usually do, especially like around evenings when I like finish my work and stuff. I went for a run and I had a very like thought experiment in my mind. Like I was like in deep thought about different things, but I had this like thought experiment in my mind when I was like running without music. And it was that, the things that I'm pursuing sometimes in this life, I usually do not achieve it with the same like beliefs that I previously did, if you understand what I'm saying. So I analyzed this thought pattern further and I thought to myself, yeah, maybe that is actually pretty right what I'm saying here, because, and remember, I'm doing all of this whilst I'm running. Like it's like mental and stuff. Like running itself is like very mental. It's like not even physical. It's something like very mental. So whilst I'm running, I'm also like thinking about this like thought patterns about, you have to sacrifice the person that you are in order to become the person that you want to become, basically. And once again, I analyzed this thought pattern further and it said that to actually achieve something in any realm of human endeavor, you can say, you have to sacrifice something within yourself in order to get that thing. And that something can be something like very small or something very big. But usually what we do is like when we strive towards goals, I liked it when Charlie Morgan said, he said that we don't strive towards goals, we strive towards identities that can achieve those goals. Which basically means that the goal that you have in your mind right now, you cannot achieve it with your current state of being, like with your current reality, with your current like self in its own mind. You have to literally become another person, still with your like I can say, still with your like soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, like these metaphysical spiritual terms. But you have to like literally create another person, which is still you, that can actually achieve that thing. And that's the challenge, because most of the time I'm talking about my own experience about, being so long on self-improvement, like self-actualization work, self-inquiry work, doing a lot of shadow work, spirituality, meditation, gym, journaling, writing, reading, and like doing all of these typical self-improvement things like academics, university, whatever, is that usually when I wanted to strive towards something, like something greater than myself, like a goal that I wanted to achieve, I never achieved it actually the way I wanted to achieve. I maybe achieved, like you can say, if you're talking about in percentages, I may have achieved it like 5% of like the 100% that I could have achieved it. And then when I was like running, something clicked in my mind and it was like, oh yeah, maybe it was because I was not the right person to actually achieve that thing in the first place. So what is the point? The point is that sometimes when you try to chase something, sometimes when you're trying to actually achieve something, you cannot do it with your current state of being. Like you have to literally change your entire self-image into the person that can actually achieve that thing. You can say it's the basic principles of manifestation of the law of attraction. I don't care how you say it, at the end of the day, words do not really matter. Words only point to something beyond themselves, and that's it. They're abstract things. At the end of the day, what matters in this physical reality, which I have a very strong opinion of, is physical action. If you don't put the physical action in, nothing's gonna change. Like you have to always take the physical action for this reality, which like this third dimensional reality to change. You cannot just think about it. Thinking, meditation, visualization is good, whatever, but you have to always like strive towards it with just physical action, because the language of this physical universe, this physical third dimensional reality, is physical action. So we can sit here, both of us, and like the viewer as well, because I'm talking to you, like we can sit here, talk about law of attraction, manifestation, 369, learn the art of Nikola Tesla, whatever. We can sit here and like talk about meditation all day, but nothing's gonna change if we don't actually put the physical action into place. So when I had this thought pattern about, that's basically right, you don't actually achieve things with your current state of being. You change yourself, and because you have changed yourself, that other self can actually achieve that thing. But of course, here comes the limiting beliefs and a lot of the things that actually hold this back, and one of them is like, for example, genetics and circumstances. So the first one is genetics, and the second one is circumstances. So when we're talking about genetics, is it true that genetics actually hold you back a lot? It is true. I'm like not a black pill person. I don't believe like everything is on genetics. You can improve a lot with that, has nothing to do with genetics. But do I also believe that genetics play a huge role like in your overall life? Yes, because at the end of the day, you're given these genes, of course, by your parents, like all of the ancestors that have lived before you, and you're basically reliving those genetics in today's life, in the present moment, you can say. And sometimes those genetics can like hinder you a lot when you like want to achieve certain things in that certain realm. So for example, playing basketball, right? I'm 5'9", 5'10", I'm not really that tall. I cannot really become an NBA player with my height. It's just impossible, you can say, because the people that are like NBA players, like 6'6", 6'7", I feel like some of them are even taller, but like around 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", you can say. If I even work very hard and become like very, you can say, even skilled in the game, I have still like disadvantages compared to the other person who is like 6'5", just because of his genetics, right? So genetics do play a very large role, but they're not, you can say, the overall picture, because the overall picture is like the soup, the ingredients, like of different things that like play with each other and that like produces a result. and that's what you maybe can call success. But at the end of the day, genetics is just one variable of the multivariable equation. The second thing is like circumstances, you can say. So this is where luck comes into place, right? I feel like luck is a very funny term, and I have a very strong opinion that things actually happen because they needed to happen. I like a quote very much from Marcus Aurelius. I might misquote this, but he said something in the line of, if something happens in your life, it was like meant to happen since the beginning of time. Of course, he said it like in a way more fancy, philosophical way. I'm just like rephrasing a little bit. And what he basically meant was that, yes, some things that actually happen in your life were not just like, oh my God, it's just happened like because of some accident, some because of luck. No, they were meant to happen since the beginning of time. So I have a very strong opinion once again that luck and like things happening by coincidence are not really real. Things always happen for a reason. If you like be still enough, like be present enough within the situation, you can actually engrave the lesson within your mind. So I don't really believe like luck and those type of things play a huge role. Now, of course, are there people lucky in this world? Of course, that's like basically a fact. That's a fundamental truth that you cannot deny. It's something that cannot be changed. It's just a fact, right? But I feel like also when we're talking about it from an optimistical perspective, from a very positive perspective, you can also look at it from the side of, okay, luck is something what happens when you actually work hard towards something. And when you work hard towards something every single day almost, you can say. And when you react towards an opportunity, that is when the luck happens. You can say working hard towards something, and when the opportunity comes and those things like melt with each other, that is, you can say, when luck happens. But I feel like at the end of the day, when we're talking about it from a broader perspective, do we have like lucky people in this world? Yeah, you can argue that. I do believe that, yes. But at the end of the day, nothing happens without like a reason. Like if some people like get something what they want or get something what they do not want, there is a reason why that is happening. There is a reason why that is in their lives. There is a reason why, for example, some things happen in my life. And if I'm still enough, if I'm like very much present in my own mind, I can like engrave once again the lesson within my own mind and like learn from the lesson and move on. So I have a very strong belief that, yeah, things happen for a reason. And that is just basically what it is. Things happen for a reason. Does luck exist? Yes, but the luck happens for a reason as well. It's not, oh my God, this person was lucky. Yeah, he was lucky, but that luck was there for a reason. Otherwise, it would not have been there. Once again, when we're talking about universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't make mistakes. So when something happens, it happens for a reason, once again. So when we're talking about like genetics and circumstances, these things are like very good topics to talk about. Like I can make an entire like separate video about like going in depth about what circumstances and genetics like are in general. But I feel like also when we're talking about like the other third perspective is like hard work. That is what I believe in, like working hard towards something. You might never achieve it, but at the end of the day, you still enjoy the journey. You give it your all. You did your best. You could have, if you genuinely did your best, you could not have done more, and you can basically live with that, right? So that's basically the philosophy I have. Like if I like don't achieve the success that I want, even though that's also a very subjective term, I'm still like happy because I did everything that I could have done. I couldn't have done more within that present moment. Like every single choice is the best choice, otherwise you wouldn't have made that choice. And of course there are like choices we make in life, and I'm also talking about myself, of course, that are like very bad, and like in a very like, even like the bad and good are like very subjective terms again, but like they are very like in a very negative, like they impact a lot of negative things in our lives. Even that was a good choice if you look at it from a positive perspective and engrave the lesson within it. If you learn something from it, it was a positive experience. So that's basically how I live by it. That's basically the philosophy I live by. But once again, when we're talking about chasing something, you have to chase it with another self that you're creating for yourself. So the thing that you're chasing, for example, I'm trying to run a marathon. A year ago, I was like very much into bodybuilding, like weightlifting. I haven't run like in like 2 years back then, like a year ago, so 2024. I haven't like run in 2 years. So I was like not in a very good like cardio state. I was like very good in a heavy weight state. Like I was lifting heavy weights, bro. I was like very strong. I was in a bulk. Like I'm 5'9", 5'10". I was like 80 kg. So I was like very strong. But what lacked for me a lot was like the cardio. So what I could have done is, said, I'm gonna just run a marathon 2 weeks from now. And I'm just gonna say, fuck all, I'm not gonna do it. Maybe I could have achieved it, but it was not like the process that you needed to go through in order to achieve that. In order to, I feel like, achieve the thing that I wanted to achieve, which is of course what I still want to do, is achieve the marathon, I have to become the person that can actually run a marathon. Now comes the question, that's a trick question, maybe that's for another video, is okay, but how do we then do that? How do we change ourselves into a person that can actually achieve those things? And that's a very good question. I haven't really thought about that in very much detail, you can say. I've read Psycho Cybernetics, which talks a lot about self-image by Maxwell Maltz, but I've not really like dived deep into like how can we like literally change ourselves so that we can literally become another like person. Like the entire self, your soul, your spirit, it still remains the same, but when we're talking about the self and in the personalization state, it just changes from state of being. So you become like a totally different being, you can say, but not like in the eternal stuff, but like more in the subjective term of this physical reality. You become like a totally different human being, and that human being that you become can actually achieve those things. But once again, now comes the question, but how do we do that? I feel like one of the things that you can do, I'd say from my experience, like change your belief systems. And once again comes the question, but how do we do that? By like going on a notepad or like Google document, whatever, and literally just writing down, okay, what are the beliefs that are holding me back, and what are the beliefs that I want to cultivate? Like generating these two polarities between, like, can say negative and a positive. What are the beliefs that are holding me back, the negative one, and what are the beliefs that are actually helping me to build me again into the man that I want to become, which are the positive one, right? If you can like identify those, I feel like you're gonna go very far. But I'm gonna make a very separate video about like how to change beliefs. I have to like still do some research about it. I just wanted to make this quick little video just about some thought experiment that I had about how you can maybe like change your belief into the person that you want to become, so that person can actually achieve that you want. So once again, in order to get the things that you want, you have to sacrifice the person that you are. So that's basically how I want to end this video. I'm gonna make a separate video where I like go more in depth about like what I think, how you can change yourself, like your self-image, into the person that can actually achieve those things. Once again, do genetics and circumstances and maybe a little bit of luck play a role? They do, but not like so much where you think like they're gonna like run your life, you can say. So my friend, thank you for listening. If you want like more content on this, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.